had to be me this time. Yeah, it had to be
one of us.
Internet problems are like our new norm for recording.
Our favorite thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, welcome to Story Sirens, the podcast where we discuss myths and mysteries from around the world. I'm Yenny.
And I'm Sarah. And happy Halloween, everyone! I'm so excited. I love Halloween so much.
Me too.
The candy, the decorations, the pumpkins, the costumes. It's my favorite. And I will say, I definitely lean more towards a cute and cozy Halloween vibe. Yenny, what about you? Are you more of a scary Halloween or a cutesy Halloween fan?
Oh, girl, I'm all for the cutesy Halloween vibes. I don't even say Happy Halloween. I say Happy Halloweeny.
I knew you and I were friends for a reason.
This is why. And it's mainly because I'm a fellow weenie and usually stay indoors and away from all the scary stuff. It's just me, a bag of assorted chocolates, and Halloween Town playing in the background. Maybe I'll bring out my Switch. Most of the times I just get like chocolate drunk and that's it.
That sounds perfect. Do you have like any other Halloween traditions that you do? Because I know on my end, some friends of mine always host a pumpkin carving party each year around Halloween. That is just the best time. And then Jared insists that we watch Over the Garden Wall when the temperatures start to drop, which, oh no, twist my arm to watch one of my favorite miniseries.
Don't get mad at me. I've never watched it, but I will watch it this year for you.
It's so good. And the entire series maybe takes 2 hours. Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 11 episodes and each one's 10 minutes.
Okay, I could do that
this
Halloween. Yeah, you send me pictures every year, and every year I turn into a sour pumpkin because I want to be there, and
at the pumpkin carving party. I know.
Yes,
I know.
Yes, I'm so upset. I just stay home and cuddle with Alex and the fur babies. That's my tradition. I mean, a few days before Halloweeny, we do usually have a party because both my aunt and cousin are October babies like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's my tradition, getting it down and then cuddling even harder. Oh, yeah.
That sounds perfect to me.
Yes, it does.
So, Yenny, how did Halloween come to be? Is this where we cue the narration intro of The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Girl, listen, I'm always confused with this movie because is it a Christmas movie? Is it a Halloween movie?
Yes.
Is it like the Thanksgiving movie, like the middle child of the holidays? Because actually, there is a Thanksgiving door too in Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's the big turkey. Yeah, there's the big turkey on the tree.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I cannot talk about Jack Skellington without bringing up one of my girls, Yasmin, who actually read or listened to some of our podcasts.
Thank you, Yasmin.
So thank you, Yazzie. We appreciate you. This is a shout out to her. The next shout outs are going to all cost money.
All cost money. Yeah, exactly.
All cost. You got to pay me for me to give you a shout out after this. Okay?
For Yasmin, it costs time and effort.
Yeah.
For everybody else.
And Charlene.
It just costs money. So, okay. So, while we're not going to dive into the Nightmare Before Christmas narration, which I do say it is a Burr holiday movie if it's in October, November, December.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. So, long ago, roughly 2,000 years ago,
long ago,
there was the Celtic holiday of Samhain. This was usually observed around October 31st, November 1st, leading up to the Celtic New Year. During this holiday, people would light a huge bonfire that the entire community would come around. The bonfire was representative of the sun, and the community would dress in costumes to scare away the spirits and fae that were wandering the land. The barrier between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead and otherworldly was, and still is, believed to be the thinnest at this time of year. Hence the need for costumes to deter the spirits from sticking around and damaging precious crops and harming the living.
I mean, I'm sure some people dressed as their in-laws to, scare away something. Not us.
No.
We love our mommies.
We love our mothers-in-law. We're good to go.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yeah. Mainly because they might be listening.
They might be. Although, granted, if I did have to make a costume of my mother-in-law, I know exactly what it would be, and it would be so fun. Okay. So, Samhain was also celebrated as a way to commemorate the changing of the seasons as the world entered into the dark half of the year. Remember talking about that in the autumn equinox episode?
I love it when our episodes interlink.
So the Druidic priests would make sacrifices of livestock and produce, setting them in the bonfire to celebrate Celtic deities and, as a way of giving thanks for the bounty of their harvest. And people around the bonfires would socialize and try to tell each other's fortunes, as mystical abilities were also thought to be heightened at this time of year. At the end of the celebration, people would take flames from the bonfire home to light their own hearths and welcome in the colder months.
When I read this, I was like, I feel like so many people might be super petty during this time period, especially if they didn't like someone.
Oh, for
Hear
sure.
me out. Imagine that, you didn't like someone and you're like, my mystical ability is telling me that maybe you should stop being a bitch, Bethany. Maybe. This had to have happened often. I'm convinced.
For sure. And we'll touch on some other sort of mystical traditions that became part of Halloween. One of the prevailing themes I saw was that young women would use these mystical abilities to figure out who they were going to marry. So, it's all about love potions and everything. It's fun.
Love potions.
Right? So a little bit more information about ancient Samhain celebrations. Samhain was one of the 4 fire festivals of the Celts, one per quarter, and it was often viewed as one of the most important as it occurred between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. Early historical texts show that Samhain was a mandatory multi-day celebration lasting about 3 days and 3 nights. If a person did not participate, the community believed that the gods would punish them with illness, death, and other misfortunes.
Again, I feel like this belief came from actual events of people not being able to go because they were sick or something.
Right.
And then because medicine, wasn't as advanced in that moment, they're like, oh my God, he died.
We have causation.
Because he did not go.
Yeah, we've got causation and correlation. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it had nothing to do with not being, you think someone doesn't want to go to a 3-day party, Bethany? Of course we want to go to a party, but I got pneumonia and I'm dying.
This is why our mystical abilities are telling Bethany to stop being such a bitch. So.
Damn it, Bethany. We love our Bethany listeners out there. It's just today we're talking about you, Beth.
Yeah, this was the name we chose. So.
This was the name we chose, and so you have to deal with it. But we love you.
So, Samhain was also an important holiday for community building, as it was a time to appear before local kings and leaders, and it was a mandatory time of peace. Soldiers and military leaders were honored during this celebration, but if anyone committed a violent act against another person, it was an offense punishable by death.
Man.
Sorry, I got a yawn.
Oh, it's because I'm that boring?
It's just me talking here.
Samhain and Yenny.
All right, so as mentioned earlier, the Celts believed that the barrier between our world and the other world was thinnest at this time of year. And remember, we are entering the darker half of the year. The nights are getting longer. It's spooky. So...
And it's filled with terrors.
So... As the barrier between the other world and our world thins, fairies, monsters, and the spirits of the ancestors could cross over into the land of the living.
Including Tamlin. With his 1,000-count leaves.
Yes!
That we talked about.
1,000-count leaves. I love it.
The 1,000-count leaves. Love it.
Somebody's over there going, quick, pick a rose. I need to get laid tonight.
I need to have that baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, along with dressing in costume to dissuade any magical spirits from lingering in the land of the living, costumes were also thought to scare inhuman spirits away from the spirits of departed humans. So the human spirits would not be kidnapped and taken away to different realms. So it was a way to protect your ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Another appeasement made to all of these spirits, both human and inhuman, were offerings of food and alcohol set outside of homes and on the outskirts of villages.
Now put a tab on this, guys, because these specific acts of leaving food and drinks to spirits will be revisited throughout this whole episode. It's kind of wild how many people do the same exact things. They're just called a little different.
It's humans being humans.
Yeah.
So, magical creatures and monsters associated with Samhain include the Slua, which are groups of cursed souls that seek to terrorize and kidnap the living, the Dullahan, a headless horseman whose appearance meant death to anyone who saw him, shapeshifters known as Puka, who could be appeased with offerings from the fields, and Lady Gwyn, a headless woman who, along with a black pig, chased anyone wandering around outside at night.
Why is every human headless?
All
I
of
see
them.
something going on here. What is this? You gotta lose your head to be a part of the scary crew?
Where are we? France during the Revolution? I think
Oh my
not.
God, stop. This also reminds me of Harry Potter because, like, headless Nick is never, he never got invited to the Headless People's Club.
Yes.
He was nearly headless.
He was nearly. So, when the Celtic territory, which I will go ahead and specify is portions of Ireland, Scotland, France, and just portions of the UK in general. When the Celtic territory was taken over by the Roman Empire in the 1st century AD, Samhain was slowly blended with 2 other Roman holidays. Veralia was the Roman holiday to observe and remember the dead. And the second holiday was a festival day for the harvest goddess Pomona, who was often given offerings of apples. So that's why today we have like candy apples, caramel apples, bobbing for apples. They're very symbolic for her. And so, of course, over the course of 400 years, these 3 holidays became intertwined with each other.
Right.
So in the 5th century, Pope Boniface declared that Samhain was the day to commemorate saints, martyrs, and all the faithful who had passed on, giving rise to the holiday All Souls' Day or All Saints' Day. And he moved the celebration date to May. Now, fast forward a couple more centuries. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III moved the celebration back to October and November.
Oh my God.
He declared November 1st as All Saints' Day and November 2nd as All Souls' Day.
This has got to be one of the most annoying things I find that new rulers just have to do, which is change the dates of holidays. They're like, I haven't done something in a while. Let me just change. Let me wake up on a Tuesday and decide, you know what? We're changing the dates. Napoleon did the same shit. Napoleon got around to changing dates all the time. Like, I'm not a fan of this. Like, that's 3 centuries worth of a holiday spent. Like, what if in France, their family in Ireland is on a freaking boat or something, trying to come over here, and the Tuesday that they arrive, this new Pope guy is like, nah, never mind. I changed the dates.
It's October. Come back.
Come back. Come back.
We've ruined the family reunion. We ruined it.
Ruined.
So, in the 8th century, many of the classic traditions of Samhain remained, even though it was being rebranded by the Catholic Church. Bonfires were lit and costumes were donned, although this time, angels and demons were the most popular costume.
Oh.
The holiday was also called All Hallowmens, Old English for All Saints. October 31st became All Hallows' Eve, the day leading up to All Saints' Day, which turned into Halloween, which we will touch on a little bit later.
Yes, we will.
Now, during the Middle Ages, which is roughly 500 to 1400 AD, bonfires were still a popular way to celebrate the late autumn holiday. But rather than large community fires, people would light fires on the edges of their own property in an attempt to ward off fairies, demons, and witches. Around this time, the tradition of the dumb supper, meaning silent, not stupid.
Which I think is dumb. Which I'm like, who comes up with these names? Dumb supper.
Which, fun side tangent, I don't know if any of y'all have ever read the book The Trumpet of the Swan, but when I was a little kid, I read it. It's written by the same guy who wrote Charlotte's Web.
Oh.
And in the very beginning of it, it talks about how the baby swan, whose story you're following, they say he's dumb. And I remember getting so upset as a little kid. And my mom had to explain to me, no, they're not saying he's stupid. They're saying he can't talk. Aww. And I was still upset. I was like, he can't talk? So it was, but that's also, side note, very adorable kids book. I highly recommend it.
I'm going to buy it. I'm just going to buy all the books. You keep telling me about books. I'm going to have to buy them all.
That's the perks of being friends with a nerd.
Yeah.
Okay. So during the Middle Ages, the tradition of the dumb supper, meaning silent, rose to popularity. For this occasion, a large meal would be prepared. Places would be set at the table for living guests and for the souls of the dead. Doors and windows would be opened to allow the souls to come into the house, and people would invite the souls of their dearly departed to join them for a meal. Adults would share news with the spirits while children played games to entertain the spirits of their relatives. Creepy, but cool. After dinner, the spirits would depart, and all the doors and windows would be shut again.
I wasn't going to interject until you finished, but you saw my face. And it's because, while this is super cute in thought, how freaking haunted is your house that you got kids playing with ghosts picking up a turkey leg and eating that shit? I'm sorry, going Spanish real quick. Ahí yo pongo un despojo tan rápido. Que no. Toda esa gente es tan loca. Yo nunca en mi vida ha oído algo así. To say this in English, I would do a cleansing so quick here. These people are crazy. I have never seen something like that in my life.
Why would you? So fast.
I don't even know. I would do everything. I don't even know what there is to cleanse, but I'd do it all.
There'd be like a salt line at the door,
yeah.
And like at the windows there'd be sage everywhere.
Grab the sage.
I would be like growing rosemary and
Where's
mint
the Palo
everywhere.
Santo?
Yes, I keep some Palo Santo in my office. Like,
oh, Sarah, you see, it's so cute, Palo Santo.
Listen, I am American. I speak English.
I am
very white. I am very, very white.
I gave you the Cuban card a while back, so you're fine.
You gave it to me, and I cook with a lot of seasonings, so there we go.
There you go. Oh, my God. But anyways, super haunted. Super freaking haunted.
Super haunted. Now, I will say, just briefly, there are variations to the dumb supper tradition, with some historians believing this tradition actually came from the Appalachian region of America, like much closer to our modern histories than the Middle Ages.
Oh.
But there is a lot of discrepancy in sort of the origins of the dumb supper. Some historians say it can only be celebrated at midnight. Some say it originated in Europe in the 17th century. Again, the version I said was the Middle Ages. Some say there must be total silence during the dinner, and some say the first half must be silent, and the second half can be when you converse with the spirits. So there are a lot of variations to the myth, as with all of these Halloween myths.
I mean, I would be silent too, like shitting myself of how scared I am because there's a ghost of Christmas past or whatever eating a turkey leg next to me, and I have to just act like this is normal.
This feels very Addams Family, which I am so for.
Listen, dumb supper because you the dumb one that brought in spirits like it's all good in the hood. Like, no.
Exactly.
I'm against this. I'm against this.
So what we here in the States celebrate as Halloween is a distinctly American tradition, and it came to us from colonial New England, specifically Maryland. As the traditions of European settlers blended with each other and blended with the traditions of American natives, a harvest celebration came into being. Public events would be held to celebrate the bounty of the harvest. People would try to tell each other's fortunes, and stories of the dead would be swapped back and forth. While the holiday was not yet named Halloween, the annual tradition of autumn festivals continued well into the 19th century.
So, how did Hallows Eve actually turn into Halloween?
Tell me.
So, around the late 1700s, the Scottish began putting Hallows Eve together and pronouncing it as Halloween. In Scottish, Hallow means saint or holy person, as Sarah had described a little bit earlier, and een would mean evening. It's all coming together, right? Just stick with
Totally.
me, bear with me.
I'm seeing it.
Yeah, you're seeing it. In 1786, Scottish poet Robert Burns actually wrote Halloween together for the first time, and this tied it all together. Hey, Sarah, mind reading us this verse from an old Scottish poem? That was terrible Scottish.
No, but it's just because you want to give me all these difficult old Scotch words, so okay.
I know, it's because I love you.
Among the bonny winding banks, where Doon rins wimpling clear, where Bruce Ance ruled the martial ranks and shook his carrick spear, some merry, friendly country folks together did convene to burn their knits and pour their stocks and haud their Halloween, fu blithe that night. Okay, that was cool. I understood about half of what I said, but Yinny, how did Halloween, like the term, get to America?
I had to do history first. Give me a second. All right, well, listen. Scotland and Ireland are neighbors, and apparently
it's
Halloween...
part of that Celtic territory.
There you go. And apparently Halloween stuck with the Irish.
Like the word itself?
Yeah, they started referring to it as Halloween. In the 19th century, America had a massive wave of immigrants, millions of whom were Irish due to the Irish potato famine or Great Hunger. Bear with me, I just really quick wanted to discuss what was the Great Hunger. And without diving too much into that certain portion of history, there was a specific type of mold that kickstarted a plant disease which spread rapidly through Ireland, causing a lot of people to die and from famine, and it was just really, really bad. So, aside from the Irish folk, I guess we can thank mold for Halloween because of the mold, they came all the way over here and then they taught us about Halloween. So, yeah.
Well, mold is scary.
It is.
Ugh, I hate it. But really, we do have Ireland to thank for many of our modern Halloween traditions, including pumpkin carving, which we will get to later.
And speaking of International Halloween, I did want to talk a bit about Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, because there seems to be a common misconception that this day is celebrated on Halloween or is a Hispanic Halloween, and spoiler, it's not.
Nope.
Dia de los Muertos is actually celebrated on November 1st through the 2nd, which ties a bit to Samhain, as Sarah had mentioned, that these particular days were when the realms of the living and the dead are at their thinnest. Like Samhain, Dia de los Muertos goes back to almost 3,000 years ago.
Dang.
And, yeah, long ago. And it derives from the Aztec and other Nahua people who honored the dead through rituals.
Rituals.
Through rituals.
That's so cute for something so terrifying.
I know, right? Who honored the dead through rituals and festivities. While it is a Mexican tradition, as the years have passed, many other Latin American cultures and people around the world have adopted some of the traditions. A bit of history before I continue. Before there was Mexico, there was New Spain. And before that, there was Mesoamerica, where multiple indigenous tribes were found, some including the Aztec, Maya, Olmec, Toltec, Teotihuacan, Mixtec, and Zapotec. A shame that these indigenous people who had architecture that rivaled that of Europe and even the Egyptian pyramids were almost completely wiped out and their homes left in ruins after the Spanish conquistadores came about. I'm looking at you, Hernan Cortés.
Your shame is great.
It is. And also smallpox killed a lot of these indigenous tribes. Aside from all the looting and terrible things that these people
exposure to toxins and germs that they were not used to.
Yeah. It was terrible. Anywho, back to Dia de los Muertos. On this exact day, it is believed the border of the spirit world and the real world dissolves completely.
Oh.
Which kind of ties in with the other one where they're having dinner all together with the spirits.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, we're talking about, like, oh, it's thinner, it's weaker, but, like, in Dia de los Muertos, it's like, it's gone.
It's gone. Everybody out here partying. This allows the souls of the dead to return to the living world for a short period of time to feast, drink, and be together with their living loved ones. The spirits are seen as honored guests by the living, and as such, the living will leave the guests their favorite foods or other offerings at their gravesite, or on the ofrendas, that is to say like a shrine or an altar for them, that are built within the living person's home. There is no crying or sad faces during this time. It's all about celebrating both life and death.
And how can you be sad when there's like all these vibrant marigolds everywhere, since they're believed to attract the dead?
Yes. And actually, we're going to talk about it, but the movie Coco actually goes through Dia de los Muertos, and it's a very beautiful movie.
It's so well done. But yeah, so I do love that tie-in between, the offerings that are left out to ward off spirits with a lot of the Samhain traditions, and then some of the Samhain traditions where offerings are left to honor ancestors. And now here we are with Dia de los Muertos, where it is the offerings are for our family and let's celebrate in their memory. So very cool.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, let's get down to some modern Halloween because we've been going through the past.
That's a lot of history.
Yeah, it was a lot of history, but there's still a little bit more. All right.
There's so much.
Oh yeah, we had to condense this as we always do, but man, it's So let's get down to the boogie oogie business and bring in some favorite modern day Halloween traditions, including trick or treating.
Yay!
Yay! Where did that come from? Why tricks and not all treats? Well, in the 19th century, some rowdy little shits.
Yeti!
I'm sorry. I mean, boys and girls would go around homes rattling the windows and even tying doors shut to make it seem like there were ghosts tricking everyone on Halloween. That's insane to me. That is super rude. It became so bad that the communities got together and homeowners started fighting back with these kids. Listen, property damage is no fun, y'all. Take it from me, the realtor. No. It is not fun.
Not fun.
Unfortunately, kids evolve and so do pranks. In the 20th century, instead of being on your property and banging on the windows, kids instead ran by and smashed eggs on them or covered your home in toilet paper. I'd like to think that they'd use single-ply toilet paper and not Charmin because those puppies are expensive.
In this economy, respect the 2 and triple ply.
Thank you. But also, I do like to think it's because these kids knew that if they trespass, they would get in trouble. But of course, if you run by and you smash an egg on it, it's fine. And most of the time, smashing eggs can result into broken windows. It can chip paint from cars. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It can attract like animals and stuff. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And then the toilet paper. Imagine back in these times, it was terrible for nature. These things would get stuck, animals can eat them and it could be bad for them. So nobody won during this time. Kids were mean and they still are. I, till this day, still see some places get toilet paper thrown at them.
Oh,
luckily,
absolutely.
the Ring camera is making that less likely. So... Yeah, so these tricks gave newspaper journalists a lot to write about during spooky season. The earliest use of the phrase trick or treat coming from a newspaper called the Leader Post in Saskatchewan, Canada in 1923, which read,
Halloween passed off very quietly here. Treats, not tricks, were the order of the evening.
I love Sarah. I love it. We first saw the use of trick-or-treat in the U.S. in the Bay City Times newspaper in Michigan back in 1928. Reading.
Tricks or treats? Peaceful citizens lived in terror of the time each evening when they should be summoned to their front doors to hear the fatal ultimatum, tricks or treats. The horror. So nothing like bribery to ensure we are living in security. So, What are we doing here, Yinny? Are we raising mobsters?
That is how the mafia began, through tricks and treating.
It all circles back.
It all circles back. You don't want any tricks? Well, you better pay up something good. Give me some good treats, you know what I'm saying?
Full-size Snicker bars.
Full-size Snicker bars. Don't give me them little ones. I want the family size. The family size. All right, but did the phrase really stick, Sarah? It did not.
Did it?
It did not.
It didn't?
No.
Oh.
No. The phrase trick or treat really took root, crazy enough, after our favorite kid, Charlie Brown, and his friends, who had a Halloween-themed comic in 1965.
Aww.
The Peanuts comic, created by Charles Schulz, had Lucy saying, "Tricks or treats," throughout the comic strip. While Charlie and Linus are waiting for the Great Pumpkin, which we all know what that's about, Lucy goes around town getting candy for herself, as well as her, and I quote, "dopey, nutty, stupid, and blockhead of a brother." So rude,
Aww.
but so true, you know.
Sisterly love.
Siblings. Yeah, sisterly love.
So, trick-or-treating was also an inexpensive way to spread the holiday fun, so to speak. Later in the 19th century, Americans worked to make autumn festivals more of a family celebration than a celebration of ghosts and goblins. So Halloween parties for adults and children grew in popularity. Newspapers encouraged worried parents to make Halloween more about fun and less about superstition. So by the 20th century, the holiday had moved away from its spiritual and religious roots. The focus was put on family fun and community building, which ironically, I feel like that's a little bit of the Samhain traditions of like this is a mandatory community holiday. But anyway.
And if you don't go, you're gonna die.
You're going to die. So, but as we all know with family fun and community building, where there are good-intentioned party planners, there are tricksters.
Which is why we can never have anything nice.
Pretty much. So, since 20th century Americans were motivated to make Halloween a community holiday, and thanks to the large number of kids after World War II, thank you, baby boom, going door to door for candy, apples, popcorns, and other goodies was an easy way for kids to fill up on treats and neighbors to socialize. And it also helped to keep eyes on any mischief makers. It also revitalized old traditions, such as the English tradition of mumming, where people would wear costumes and go door to door to perform short scenes and skits and would be given food and drink and sometimes money.
Maybe this is because I just watched The Mummy and The Mummy 2, but not me thinking when you said mumming that like they're actually like going doorstep to doorstep and like performing a mummification for funds. Listen, that would be scary.
That'd be terrifying.
And all about Halloween. That would be the trick.
That's the trick. You get to watch a
trick.
real mummification. That would be horrifying.
Who came up with that word, mumming? Why?
I think it's from an old French word meaning masked.
Well, that makes sense because
That
the
would make
mummy
sense.
is masked.
He is. So, so trick or treat could also be an offspring of the Samhain tradition of dressing in costume and receiving offerings to the spirits on their behalf. So, lots of variation. And guess what? We have more variation.
Oh my
The
gosh.
tradition of souling could also be a precursor to trick-or-treating. In this 15th century Christian tradition, people would take soul cakes, baked goods made of whatever grain was common in that region and representing the dead or payment for prayers for the dead, and they would take these soul cakes to each other's homes. This turned into the 19th century children dressing up and going door to door begging for soul cakes, sweets, apples, or money.
I like the money part.
Right? Also, there's a whole souling/soul cake song. I only know this because we covered it in the No Sleep Podcast Halloween episode one time.
Shameless plug-in. I love it.
Shameless plug-in.
I love it. Yes. Okay, Sarah. We've covered ghosts, costumes, and souling/trick-or-treating. But what about the pumpkins we carve with like scary faces or cute cats?
The pumpkins!
Yeah, and why are these pumpkins called jack-o'-lanterns? I must know everything.
Okay, so The most popular origin story of the jack-o'-lantern comes from a 19th century Irish legend about Stingy Jack, also known as Jack the Smith and Drunk Jack.
Man, he seems like a nice guy, you know what I'm saying? I mean, funny enough that this comes from an Irish part, because remember the whole thing? America got Halloween because of the Irish, so it would make sense.
Thank
that
you,
this
Ireland.
Would come... Yeah, thanks, Ireland.
So, in the legend, Old Jack is a drunk and a thief who finds a man lying on the side of the road. When he stops to see if the man is asleep or dead, presumably to rifle through the body's pockets,
as Stingy Jack would do.
Right. He discovers it's the devil himself who has come to take Jack away. Jack makes the request that they stop for a drink before going to the afterlife. Reasonable enough. The devil agrees.
I mean, what kind of drink do you think the devil and Jack got? If it's up to me, I feel like the devil would like Fireball whiskey, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe Jack would like a stout. He's from Ireland.
Yeah.
They do like a
Yeah,
stout.
I'm thinking Jack's probably taking an ale or something. I think the devil's drinking Malort because that stuff is disgusting.
Oh.
So, while at the pub, Jack asks if the devil would be willing to pay for his final drink. It's the least he can do, after all. And even better, Jack suggests that the devil turn himself into a coin, and when the bartender isn't looking, the devil can vanish. So that's what the devil does. But instead of paying the barkeep, Jack picks up the devil coin and puts it in his pocket next to a silver crucifix, which prevents the devil from changing shape again. Jack then haggles with the devil and tells him he will only release him if the devil promises to leave him alone for 10 more years. The devil agrees, and the two part ways.
Why only a decade? I feel like Jack could have been better with his bargain. I'd be like, come grab me at the age of, I don't know, 1,000. And boom, Jack lives forever and becomes Jack the Ripper. Sarah, I solved who Jack the Ripper is.
Oh my gosh, we figured it out.
It is Stingy Jack / Drunk Jack made a deal with the devil. He's lying to us right now. He told you...
It wasn't 10 years. It was 1,000 years.
It wasn't. He told you and the history people that it was 10, but it was actually 1,000. And now we know who Jack the Ripper is, which honestly, we're going to have a separate episode about Jack the Ripper because that is kind of like myth.
There's so many theories. So many theories.
So many theories. But yes, now we know. He's Irish.
He's an Irish drunk. He's an Irish thief. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
Okay, so this still doesn't answer how jack-o'-lanterns came about. So,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So 10 years later, the devil returns to collect Jack. Jack says he will go with the devil, but asks if the devil would climb a tree that they're next to get an apple for Jack. Jack is old, after all, and doesn't he deserve a last meal? The devil agrees, and once he's up in the tree, Jack carves crosses all around the base of the tree so the devil can't climb back down.
Listen, the devil's... come on. Come on.
I know,
twice,
right?
dude.
Twice?
Just give away your title, bro.
Yep, it's pretty bad. So Jack promises to help the devil out of the tree only if the devil swears that he will never take Jack's soul to hell.
Oh my God, he's the Monkey King.
Oh my gosh.
they're all tied.
So the devil agrees that he will never take Jack's soul to hell. Years later, when Jack does die of natural causes, God refuses to let him into heaven because Jack is just too sinful and evil.
Yeah.
So Jack turns to the devil asking what he should do. And the devil simply gives him a burning coal to carry with him as he wanders the earth in darkness.
Maybe that's how Christmas comes out, too. Because, you could get coal for Christmas.
The devil and Krampus. Got it.
Yeah, we'll cover that one, too. We're just going everywhere today.
So Jack becomes a wandering spirit with nowhere to go, carrying the burning coal in a carved-out turnip. He became known as Jack of the Lantern, and later, Jack-o'-lantern.
This all took a really dark turn.
It did.
Like, first you're, rooting for Jack because you're drunk, but you're smart. And then you're like, Jack, let it go.
Yeah.
This is Titanic all over again.
So, this legend gave rise to people carving shapes and faces into turnips, rutabagas, and beets, setting lights in them, and setting them outside of their houses to ward off Jack and any other malicious spirits. In some traditions, the carved faces in the jack-o'-lanterns were meant to represent souls in purgatory and were a reminder to those living to pray for the dearly departed who were waiting to be allowed into heaven. They were also used as lanterns for people traveling from home to home or from bonfire to bonfire. Pumpkins replaced turnips and other root vegetables in America as they were native to the region and grew in abundance during the autumn months.
But what kind of craftsmanship must you have had to carve shapes out of a turnip? Those things are tiny. Like, they're not big enough. Like, at least the pumpkin, you have more canvas.
You have
know
more
what I'm
canvas.
saying?
Yeah.
You know, like, this is... I don't know. Anytime I carve a pumpkin, it comes out. It comes out. That's it. I see all your pumpkins, and I'm like, there's no reason I would even go. Like,
No,
if you
you
would
should.
invite me to your party, for what? For you guys to laugh at me? No. Oh my God, my pumpkin. My pumpkin. I'm crying.
I have to.
I promise I have a fruitful sex life. It's just...
You just get real excited thinking about winter squash.
My pumpkin. My pumpkin. Oh my God, the tears are coming out. My pumpkin carving skills are bad. I'm sorry. I just have a lot of feelings and everything goes back to sex. I'm human. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. That was great.
Oh, and this is why we do podcasts, to make you guys laugh.
That's going to be a great blooper.
Blooper? I'm leaving that shit in there.
Let's leave it in. Okay. Wow.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay.
We've covered a lot and also touched on several traditions and sexual innuendos.
Yeah.
But
I don't like you saying touch there.
But we know without a doubt that we missed some details. Others we should have just not talked about.
Obviously.
But for time's sake, and for our sake, because you probably already arrived at your destination, so we must be concise at this point. What we have learned for sure is that the history of Halloween is vivid and full of myth and turmoil and a lot of ghosts.
All in all, what we celebrate today as Halloween in North America seems to be this wonderful combination of traditions and the legends of so many cultures, all of the cultures that have come together to make America. So, what more could you expect from the melting pot that is America? Or, should I say, the melting cauldron?
Oh, bubble, toil and trouble. All right, let's go through some movies real quick that we love. The iconic Halloween Town 1 and 2.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good.
They're so good, except for the third. The third was a mess, and I like to block it out of my memory, so don't talk to me about
There
it.
is
If
no
it ain't
third
the real
Halloween
Marnie,
Town. There's no.
Who is
there's
that?
No.
If there's no real Marnie, I ain't wanting it. So if you're into scares, though, you've got to have Michael Myers be a part of your night with the Halloween movie franchise.
And I do really enjoy the first one. It's a good one. So,
it's good. They're good.
I know for a fact that I'm a hocus pocus girly for sure. And
yes, make that too.
Yes. And like I mentioned earlier, I also love watching Over the Garden Wall every autumn. I have an entire movie list that I break out in October, but we're going to keep this concise.
Yes.
For Day of the Dead, I try to watch Coco without crying. I fail
you're strong.
every time. Yeah. And so Jared and I just sit there with a box of tissues and we just cry, but it's a beautiful movie.
When the grandma starts singing,
Oh,
I just die.
And also, if you need any book recommendations, maybe pick up The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It has a variation of the Doulahan we mentioned earlier.
All right, guys. For your siren call, we're keeping it all about the treats and no kinds of tricks.
Yes!
Watch Sarah's favorite, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. It's a classic and it's, so fun. I love it.
So fun. And go buy a pumpkin and carve something cute or scary. We won't judge.
Oh, no, we won't at all. Anywho, guys, be safe.
Happy Halloween! What?
You want to try that again?
So, well, anytime we've tried to do something like at the same time, it's always a little bit of a mess.
Well,
but you want to try it again?
I edit it.
Okay, all right.
So 3, 2.
Get ready.
This is so bad. All right, I'm ready. 3, 2, 1.
Be
safe
and happy Halloween!
We tried. Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy
Be good.
Halloween.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/storysirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.